channel by MWoo. I'm MWoo, aka Marianne, and I don't know about you, but while I'm not the type of person to bust out all of the holiday decor immediately after Halloween, I am definitely starting to think about the holiday season. I tried to start some gift knitting back in like the summertime, which was a little bit of a flop. I did cast some things on, but like no progress was really made on that. So now that November is here, we're kicking it into high gear and we're really on the gift knitting train. On that topic, I thought today we could talk about 12 different gift knitting patterns / ideas that I kind of found along the interwebs and give you some inspo if you are curious or want to start gift knitting this year. I have a range of patterns. We're specifically going to be talking about 12, and I tried my best to kind of find some free ones as well as some paid for ones, and I kept the beginner knitter in mind. Some of these patterns are definitely things that you could modify to make a little bit more advanced if you're feeling daring or if you're a seasoned knitter. Otherwise, I think most of them should be fairly friendly for a novice knitter. Before we jump on into the 12 patterns, I thought I would acknowledge what I'm wearing today. This is a really beautiful fuchsia pink cardigan that my mom actually made, not for me, but for herself when she was in her 20s. And I have since acquired it into my closet, and I thought I would wear it today because one, it's really cozy and it's kind of chilly outside. And two, in the spirit of wearing something that someone else had knitted, I thought this would be fitting. Okay, with that all out of the way, I'm gonna talk about the patterns. So how I think I'm gonna structure this video is I'm gonna talk about them kind of by category / section. So the first one here is hats, and I have 3 for you. First hat that I have for you is called the Mindful Beanie, and it's by Noemi Zimmer. And it's this really beautiful color worked pattern hat that I think has so much potential to be tailored to the individual that you're gifting it to. You can use a range of colors, you can include a pom-pom, you don't have to include the pom-pom. It seems really versatile, but also very fun and festive because it has all this color work going on. How I would best describe it is that it kind of has like a cross pattern throughout it with like triangle cutouts, but they're not really cutouts, they're like blocked portions of color. It's recommended to be made in bulky weight yarn, so it should be very quickly to knit up. While it is a charted pattern, she does have the instructions written out for this, as well as a YouTube tutorial of sorts that kind of walk you through how to understand and knit to patterns, or knit to charts, sorry. It says it's beginner friendly. I did see throughout the Ravelry like project pages that there are a handful of people who are novice knitters who did knit it up successfully. So I definitely think it would be something that a beginner would be able to accomplish, even though it looks a little daunting, and the end result is something like absolutely beautiful. You could go for something a lot more colorful and bright if that's something they're into, or you could even go for something more like pulled back and muted and not have such contrasting colors between the two strands. So I think it's a beautiful pattern that if you think someone could benefit from a really cozy hat, would absolutely love. The second hat kind of thing I have for you is called the Roomy Balaclava. This is a free pattern that is essentially what the name of the pattern says, which is a really like oversized roomy balaclava that I think is great for someone who doesn't like scarves or hats, but wants some sort of head related gear to wear in the snowy, cooler weather. I know that balaclavas are not really like a big thing for adults. At least I don't typically see them around. I've seen children wear them more, but I think they're such a great versatile piece to have in your wardrobe, especially if you have like a trench coat or something that doesn't come with a hat, but maybe the vibe of wearing like a knit beanie isn't what really speaks out to you. And so balaclava is kind of like that good middle ground that you could add a hood without committing to like a sweater with a hood, if that makes sense. This is a bulky weight pattern, and the actual recommended yarn is to hold Knitting for Olive Merino held double with a strand of drops brushed alpaca silk. I think if you were to just substitute this for bulky weight yarn like in and of itself and not hold a whole bunch together, that would be totally okay. And while it is like a one size pattern, I was taking a look at it and I think you could easily modify this if you wanted to make it bigger or smaller. The basic construction of it, from what I understand, is that you have like a square / rectangle piece at the top for the crown, and then you pick up stitches along the edges for the 2 flaps on the side, and then you join them in the back. Depending on how big you make your like crown piece and how many stitches you pick up, you could probably very easily like increase or decrease the volume of the hood. I was also looking at the photos of this one on Ravelry, and she has a photo of it where it sits more like a hood, like off of the head in the back, and it actually looks so clean. I think, like I said, it would be a perfect gift for someone who doesn't really want to wear accessories but does want that as an option. And then on top of that, you don't have to worry about fumbling with all these different winter accessories because it's like a 2-in-1. You don't have to bring a separate scarf or a separate hat because they're attached. With the adult sizes out of the way, the last hat is a baby hat, and this one would probably come as no surprise as a recommendation for you because I absolutely adore this pattern, and that is the Baby Bear Bonnet by Pernille Larsen. This is my personal favorite gift knit. I've made 2 of them in the past. I know I will continue to make them moving forward as baby gift knits, but it's this really adorable kind of bonnet styled hat that has little like triangle ears. It says it's a bear, but I think it kind of skews a little bit more cat-like. Regardless, it's friggin' adorable whenever it's on an infant's head. The recommended yarn for this is the Knitting for Olive cotton merino / merino held with a soft silk mohair, but realistically any DK weight would be totally usable for this pattern. This one is a paid for pattern, and I will say this one with confidence that it knits up very, very quickly. Historically, both of the ones that I made on average were 2, maybe 2.5 days, and they're just so cute and dainty, and they give you the option to do like a moss stitch rim at the front or a ribbed stitch. I know my sister prefers the ribbed one. I think the moss one's a little cuter, but you can even change it up if you felt a little bit more creative and wanted to do like a different kind of pattern, even on the top, because it's mainly stockinette. Things that you need to know for this one is that it does use German short row shaping to close the bonnet because it's made flat, and then you kind of like, for the lack of the better words, like bring the flaps in. That probably makes no sense, but if you're knitting it, that's kind of how the style works out. And it has I-cord edging, which is not difficult, but I know that it's not something that a lot of people enjoy. This one is one that I, like I said, will continue to make over and over again. It's so cute, so versatile, and it uses the smallest amount of yarn, so it's great for like scrappy projects if you have some spare mohair and fingering weight yarn in your stash that you just want to whip up and give someone a really cute baby hat. Moving on to the other end of the body, we'll talk about socks. So I have 2 sock patterns for you guys, one of which contains like 4 different styles. So kind of 6 types of patterns. I don't know if that really works. But the first one is the Thickmas socks by Summerlee. And based off the title of the pattern, it's essentially thick Christmas socks is I think what she kind of designed that for in mind. These are DK weight socks, and like I said, the pattern comes with 4 different kind of styles. So she has a vanilla one, a scrappy vanilla one if you're interested in making scrap socks, a cabled version, and a reverse stockinette. So basically the outside is all like pearl stitches. That all comes in one set for a paid for pattern, and if you know anything about Summerlee, she makes great sock patterns. I personally have used this one and I absolutely adore it. I've really only worked on the vanilla version, but I've looked at the other ones and they're really easy to understand. They're also very versatile in the sense that the vanilla sock pattern that she includes comes from a whole bunch of sizes from baby all the way to 2XL adults. And so there's probably something for everyone. If you're interested in doing like the cabled version, she doesn't have it written for a baby, but I think you could probably be able to adapt it based off the sizing information for the vanilla sock pattern. I'm currently in the process of making my 3rd pair for Christmas gift knits, and they just knit up so quickly because they're on DK weight. I know in general socks are pretty like smaller commitment patterns, but honestly the DK weight versions knit up so much faster. It's so nice. And if you guys are curious, I personally have used the Barocco's Vintage DK for them, and I think it's a great yarn for it. In my opinion, it's a lighter DK weight yarn, but it works really nicely, and it is a machine washable like acrylic wool, I don't remember the 3rd component, blend of a yarn. And so it's really friendly for people who are not used to washing gift knits, because that is also another thing that I personally like to consider when I'm giving gift knits is what is the maintenance on that. So giving them something that maybe has a little bit more of an acrylic blend or of sorts might be the good option to think about when thinking about gift knits. She also has another pattern set that's called the Thanksgiving sock sets, which are also DK weight if that's something of interest to you. The types of patternings on those socks vary a little bit from the Thickmas ones. So if you're interested in those are definitely both options that you can consider. The next sock is probably the most niche like type of gift on my list, and that is the Janne yoga socks. So these, as the title suggests, are specific for yoga. They don't have like the toe portion or a heel portion so that people doing yoga can have a little bit more grippy on their mat. This is by Helms, and if you know anyone who's super into yoga or just likes not to wear full-on socks, I don't really know of anybody like that because I don't think you can usually buy socks that are missing the toe and the heel, but if someone is interested, this is definitely an option for them. This one's also a DK weight sock. Typically, when you are trying to make faster knit socks, DK weight is the way to go. This one's a really interesting one because if socks are intimidating to you, realistically, the most intimidating part is the heel and maybe the decreasing of the toe. And so if you don't have the heel and the toe, it's basically a tube, if you know what I mean. So this is probably a really great beginner-friendly, like intro to sock kind of structure while being able to skip the quote-unquote harder parts about a sock. This pattern is free, if I didn't mention that already, and it does unfortunately come in one size. She mentions it fits mostly for EU size 37 to 42, which I think is like a size 6 to maybe a size 8 or so. I don't know EU to US conversion, but regardless, I think it's for just like a standard female size foot. That being said, length is customizable if you want to knit a longer sock or a higher cuff. Moving back up towards the neck area, I have 3 neck related patterns for you. The first one is called The Simple Thing by Melina Brell, and it's a free DK weight mini scarf pattern. This one comes in English, Dutch, and German if that's of interest to you, and it is a really beautiful garter stitch mini scarf with I-cord edging around the edge. It's not unlike the Sophie scarf if you're familiar with that petite knit pattern, which I know took the like knitting community by storm last year, maybe the year before. It was a really great, like I have a single skein of DK weight yarn to knit up pattern. And so this definitely gives a very similar vibe. Something that the designer did for this one though is she made it very versatile in the sense that you can use kind of any type of DK weight yarn and you can make it really customizable in terms of like how big and how small. While you can do that with the Sophie scarf and the Sophie shawl, I think those ones are a little bit more set in the way that they're written in the pattern to be very like, this is the size that you're trying to aim for. The next pattern that I have to share with you guys is the Amber Cowl by Mirella Moments, and it's this really beautiful cowl with some lace detailing in it. Lace can be a little daunting to a new beginner, but I think this one is in a really approachable way in a repeating pattern that once you get into the groove, it would be really easy to kind of flesh it out. It's worked seamlessly in the round, so it should be fairly quickly to knit and you don't have to worry about like going back and forth between knitting and purling. And this sample is knit in this glorious peachy like orange color that I am obsessed with. It definitely has kind of like this amber kind of a vibe to it that's really, really beautiful. Based off how this one's written, I also do think it would be very easy to modify size-wise if you need a larger circumference. This one is available for free on their blog, I believe. While I linked to the Ravelry page below, if you scroll down in the notes section, there's a link that will bring you to the free pattern. The last neck related thing I have for you is one that I'm totally gonna butcher if I say, so I'm just gonna put it on the screen here. This one is a similar kind of triangle shaped scarf that has, again, really beautiful texture on it. It looked so nice when I saw it and it caught my eye. And in reality, it's just a combination of garter stitch mixed with ribbing. And I think that's so ingenious to take 2 really simple, like standard stitch styles and kind of combine them to make this really fun pattern. This one is yet another free pattern knit on DK weight, and you have to sign up for her newsletter to receive it. It's the free pattern that she gives out when you sign up for your newsletter, so just wanted to kind of like put that out there if that's not something you're interested. It is a really nice finished object that I think any person would adore. And you could probably modify it if you're kind of more interested in making like a headscarf. Last but not least is the section of trinkets. So this is what I'm calling kind of the catch-all section. They're not necessarily like an accessory piece that you would typically wear, but they're kind of more just like little fun things that you can make for someone who maybe doesn't necessarily want wearable winter accessory, if that makes sense. So the first one is a soap saver. The one that I found specifically is by Kalley Reedy, and it's a paid for pattern on Ravelry, but she does also have it available free on her blog, and all of that information is in the notes section of the Ravelry page linked below. She recommends using cotton worsted weighted yarn for this, but I actually think that you probably could get away with most like plant-based yarns, and it can be easily done in scrappy yarn and knit up fairly quickly. It would be fairly small because it's like to hold soap. It would be great for like an eco-conscious person in your life. If people use soaps, not everyone does because some people like liquid soap, but if you get to the bottom of like your bars of soap, you get these like little bits that kind of like float around because they're too small to hold, but they're still soap that you could use. And so this is a great way to just chuck them all into a soap saver, and it's great for exfoliating as well as just like making sure that you're actually using up all the soap that you have. I think this would also be a really great gift knit idea if you paired it with like a really nice like handmade soap. If you know like someone locally who makes soap, or just like if you go to a farmer's market or whatnot, you could throw in like some candles if that's something they're interested in, and make like a little wellness basket. That would be really, really nice. I specifically like this one because it kind of has some visual interest to it. It has some lace detailing, so it's not just like a plain stockinette bag. And I think that would also really be nice for sensing the soap that you have in it. So it looks really cute. I freaking adore it. Honestly, even if you were to make this and just like have it as like a little like trinket bag just around and not specific to soap, I think that would still also be really adorable. Okay, the next one is one that is also something that I can't pronounce. So, Juana. This is the Juana. Please correct my pronunciation. This is a free star ornament pattern that kind of leans more into the Christmas festivities if you want to knit something small for someone's tree or just like a little ornament around the house. And it is a DK weight star shaped pattern ornament thing. I also think it'd be really cute if you made a whole bunch and like hang them from the ceilings as little decor for the house. That'd be so adorable. This is mainly stockinette. It does require a provisional cast on. If that's something you're wanting to try or you're really familiar with, you can do that option. She also has a version that you just pick up stitches afterwards, which would be a lot more beginner friendly if you're not keen on trying provisional cast on. This one is also chart based, and so it probably would be helpful if you had a little bit of chart experience, but honestly, I think a very confident beginner could be able to figure it out too. But I think it's so adorable, and I'm not sure how well it would scale, but you could make like a really giant one and have like a star-shaped pillow or something too. Like, I feel like the construction of a pillow would be the same as like the ornament. You would just need a lot more yarn and a lot more stuffing. The next one is a very dainty dishcloth that I thought would be fun. This is called the Date Squares Dishcloth by the Kitchen Sink Shop. It's also a worsted weight, recommended using some sort of plant-based fiber. The one I think she has specifically is cotton, and the texture is supposed to resemble date squares. I didn't really see that, but it has these really cute like lace detailing on it that in my opinion kind of look like either bows or like Greek columns, if that makes sense. Regardless of what you see, I think it's a really adorable pattern. Again, this would be a really easily modified one in terms of just casting on more or less stitches. The one that she specifically has it graded for is an 8 by 8 inch square. But if you wanted to make it more of a tea towel shape, you can make it longer. If you wanted to make it more of like a, I don't know, like a smaller rag kind of style, you can make it smaller. I also think it would be a really cute blanket if you were to scale this up massively, and that would take a lot longer. And so you would probably need to start that like now if you wanted to work on it for a gift knit for the holiday season, but the pattern is really cute that I think you would be able to use it across various sizes. I also think this would be really great to pair with the soap saver that I talked about earlier and transition it from like a dishcloth more into like a face wash cloth. If that was a direction that you wanted to go in, I would definitely recommend looking into like a softer cotton yarn though, because the face typically has a little bit more sensitive skin than like a dish rag that you would need to wash like dishes or so. But you could definitely easily transition this depending on the type of yarn that you selected. Last but not least is the Stripy Scrunchie pattern by Nina Huklova. This is a free pattern for scrunchies. In her samples, a lot of different stripes, but you can make a solid colored one if you want. This one is great for using fingering weight leftover that you have along in your stash. And you could get really creative with the different designs that you wanted to do. So like I said, her primary focus is making stripe versions. You could make a solid one. If you were interested in throwing in some like random patterns into it, you could probably do that too. It's really, really, really versatile. She specifically has graded this for an adventurous beginner. Take that as you will. But from what I read, it was mostly stockinette where you would increase rapidly to get that kind of scrunchie. So you'd be able to vary how much like waviness you wanted in the scrunchie, if that's a terminology. More increases would probably make a bigger ruffle wave kind of vibe. Fewer increases would make less. I want to mention that you do start this with a provisional cast on too. I don't know if she has an option where you don't need that. And it comes in 3 sizes as well as customizable, which suggests that, like I said, you could make it very ruffly or very not ruffly. If you had some really nice like silk yarn, you could probably make like a silk scrunchie that would be pretty gentle for the hair, which would be a great idea. Or you could just go all out and do like mohair, which would be also really fun. So the possibilities are kind of endless with this. It'd be a great like accessory too if you want to make like a scrunchy wristband. I know people like wearing scrunchies like that, or you can do it for your hair. All right, so there you have it, the 12 gift knit patterns that have caught my eye while I was scouring the interwebs for inspo for gift knits for my friends and family. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and got some inspiration from it. Let me know in the comments below if you choose to make any of them, / if you have any specific patterns that you wish to share. I love gift knitting and I would love to acquire a couple more patterns for my repertoire. Otherwise, happy knitting and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye for now.